Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned into the Berkshire Battalion Signal Corps podcast. Al Kessler here with you. I'm joined this week once again by Ross Jacobs and Bill Bird.
Hi guys. How we doing?
Doing
great.
Good to talk with you guys once again. We're going to cover the weekend that was and the weekend to come for the Berkshire Battalion here. It's pretty much playoff hockey from this point out. With
win out or go home.
3 games out of a playoff spot currently. And with 4 games left to play, that's slim odds right there.
Yep, you've got the 4 games all against the Watertown Wolves, a team with a documented history in this first season, and they've got to win all 3 of them against. Right now, your 4th place team is not a single 4th place team because you've got Danbury and Danville in pretty much a statistical dead heat for 4th place. Both of them 3 games over 500, while the Battalion are looking at 3 games under 500.
Yeah.
So in 4 games, you've got to be able to make up those 3 games in the standings, and it's not impossible, but it really is. I think, as we said a number of weeks ago, could really very much come down to that very last game of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And that statistical difference you're talking about, Ross, in the standings, .537 winning percentage for Danbury, a .536 for Danville. The only thing separating that is Danbury with 4 overtime losses as opposed to Danville's 5 because, of course, winning percentage is the amount of points you get over points possible. Right now, the Battalion sitting with a .477 record, so they're effectively 3 games under 500. Well, as you said, Danbury and Danville over 500, and they play each other twice this weekend.
Yep, it's hopefully, the way it looks the most plausible for the Battalion to sneak in is if Danville goes in there and plays the way they've been playing the last half, while Danbury goes in and plays the way they're playing in the last half. Mm-hmm. The only problem is that last game on the schedule that Danbury has against Steel City, which is, as we saw from this past weekend, not a difficult team to beat.
No, not at all. And one thing that's, I think, important for the Battalion looking at this matchup as the Danbury Whalers this coming weekend, before we take a look at the weekend that just happened, but in this coming weekend, Danbury plays Dayton on Friday and then has 2 games against Danville in Danville. For the Berkshire Battalion, the worst thing that could happen is to see those 2 teams split those games in Danville. Because with a split...
Games off the schedule at that point.
Exactly. With a split, that really just only hurts the Battalion. It would take one team winning both games to really put the Battalion in good position to strike for the playoffs. But there's some good news as we look at the transaction wire for the Berkshire Battalion. Justin McDonald called up to Evansville in the East Coast Hockey League, so he likely will not be with the Watertown Wolves, at least for this weekend.
Yep, and J-Mac is by far and away the leading scorer of the Watertown Wolves.
And the league.
A huge threat there for a huge offensive threat for the Wolves. Not that they don't have a bunch to start with.
Yeah.
And Joe St. Pierre in net as well. I mean, Watertown, as we know, we've all seen the games, has been a very tough opponent to beat at home in their building. Either way, the Battalion have beaten them. They are a beatable team. But it's not easy, and everything needs to be going on all cylinders.
Yeah, on top of the fact that their new backup netminder, Nick Niedert, who I'm very familiar with, he's a friend, originally from Iowa. He's actually used to play for the Danbury Whalers. He's played all over the place. He's a very good backup as well. But let's talk about the weekend that just happened. It was last Thursday, the 19th of February, and that's probably a game a lot of Berkshire fans want to forget about. A 13-0 Watertown win. Phil Brunner with a hat trick, Cody Dion with 4 goals, and Chad Bennett with the hat trick as well. And
I don't know how that happened. I don't think the team knows how that happened. It's just the long bus ride, and they were coming off of that stretch of that 4-game weekend on the road of the weekend prior to that, and then back out after a quick. They got home from the Steel City game Tuesday. They stayed overnight on Steel City.
It was like 11 o'clock at night when they got home.
Yeah, they were very late getting in on Tuesday. The Boosters Club all got together, and this is worth mentioning. A lot of the team boosters and fans got together and put out an answer to call from the team to put together a dinner for these guys on Wednesday night, so they could not have a big worry, a team-building dinner and get everything ready together for them. And the team answered the call, as did a number of Watertown fans.
I was just going to mention that, Russ. You have to really give some props to the Watertown fans. It was a pretty classy move on their part.
It really
Yeah.
was. They delivered some snacks for the long ride home for those guys from Watertown after their game on Thursday, and we can't say enough about that. That's
And
a really
you know,
class move.
some of our hometown Battalion fans did the same thing for the Steel City Warriors this weekend as well.
Very good.
Love the fans in this league. So that was a rough game. There's not much to talk about there. When I talked to the guys about it, it really was just a rough game. Bad bounces early, and then it just kept going from there. You know, the Battalion almost outshot Watertown, but nothing was working for them, and Watertown with a lot of puck luck. But then they would come back to North Adams on the 20th, that Friday home game. It was a 7-4 Watertown win. That was an excellent game, but a tough one at the end. It was tied up in the third period. Guskov and Gavrik tying the game up very early on in that period, but then Watertown would fight back and finally score the empty netter to seal it 7-4.
Exactly, big comeback. But because it was a comeback because they got down early. Again, Messina letting in 3 quick ones. I think it's worth saying that Messina has really run hot and cold. In his time with the team, he is capable of some brilliant goaltending. But I mean, and I haven't run the numbers that I really wanted to on this, but there have been at least 2 or 3 notable occasions where we've had to come back from a couple of early bounces against Steve. And same thing happened on Friday, but the team was able to do it. It was a really good comeback, and it was very exciting there in that third period. But then 2 quick ones, and it was over.
And there was only 3 penalties assessed during the whole game, only 1 minor penalty, and that was to Tyler Howe for cross-checking, then he would fight Matt Ray, and that was a heck of a fight. But an interesting thing happened in this game. Justin Alonso got a stick-up high on Brandon Contrado, and Contrado went down hard, and I've never seen anything like this happen. Tyler Howe skated to the Watertown bench and skated up and down the length of the bench, looking each Watertown player in the eye and asking them, who did it? Who was it? Was it you? Was it you? And the Watertown bench was totally silent.
Yes, it was.
I'd have been.
Yeah, he's a scary individual for sure. Unfortunately, the following night, though, when Berkshire would take on Steel City, they would lose him as he has broken his orbital bone.
Yep, I think he took a punch from Steel City's Cooper Emery.
Yeah, he did.
He is. His eye was swollen up like a sausage there in the locker room after the game. So
Yeah.
it doesn't
And
look good.
it was in a throwaway game. I mean, a 19-3 Berkshire victory. It was just ridiculous, the stomping they put on Steel City this weekend. 60 shots in the game taken by Berkshire.
35-3 over the weekend for the Steel City Warriors. That was. I don't know how Annis Reeves can look herself in the eye. Putting that product out there.
Fans, you can probably hear me coughing in the background too. Actually, my throat is still recovering, having to call those 38 goals in 2 games. It got a little hairy at sometimes. It was just they were coming fast and furious.
It's true. After the after the 10th goal on Sunday, we were requested not to put them up on the scoreboard anymore. Just like in youth hockey.
Yeah, and that Sunday game, a 16-0 Berkshire win over Steel City, and not much to talk about in that game. Really, just an offensive display there. But congratulations should be
good
extended.
shout out from Steve Messina.
Yeah, his first professional.
He deserves that. He deserves that call out for sure.
But I got to give a shout out to 2 Battalion players, Mike Dolman, Tom Tracy, with 76 and 75 points respectively. That is the highest scoring done by a rookie in Federal Hockey League history. The last mark was set by Danbury's Tim Richter when he scored 71 last season. So congratulations to both of those young men. We're watching some seriously talented hockey players.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, you could tell Dolman absolutely carried this team for the first half of the season. And Tracy, I think, is sort of doing the same towards the end, although he's being joined a lot by the emergence of the Soviet line and Mike Kozlauskas, who has really just also had a terrific second half.
Yeah, absolutely. As we look ahead to the end of the season, which is unfortunate to say, but only 4 games remaining for the Berkshire Battalion. It's looking like Brandon Contrado will be back in the lineup this coming weekend to play for the Battalion, as his junior team, which he coaches, is currently finished with their season out of the playoffs. No Tyler Howe, of course, but it'll be interesting to see if we may potentially, and I don't know the viability of this, but we may potentially have a Tristan Lisko back in the lineup.
Oh, really?
Well, it's possible. I don't know for sure. I'm actually going to ask him, but...
Well, how long has he been down in Knoxville for? How many games has he played?
About 8 now, I believe. He's accrued
really?
7.
So-
Yeah, he's accrued 7 penalty minutes. Still no points as of yet. I'm actually messaging him on Facebook right now to see if he does plan on coming back. He's down there getting an extended tryout. I know his heart really is in North Adams, and he probably wants to be here playing with the team. And I know the fans want him back, but it is good to see for the young man to get his shot at a higher level, get an extended look with an SPHL team.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think that's pretty much the case with any of these guys. You want them to do well. You know you're watching them at a very formative stage in their career. You love them here, but you know that at the end of the day, they don't see their career as 5 years in North Adams.
yeah. Also, hopefully, I've asked around some of the players, still haven't gotten any word back about the status of Louis George, if he'll be returning yet. He's been battling with pneumonia. In fact, about a month ago, that last game in Danbury, the last game against Danbury this season, Louis George playing through that illness, maybe extended himself a little much and had to be unfortunately hospitalized. But he's doing much better now, and it looks like this week he's trying to get to the doctor to get cleared for playing once again, which is good news for Berkshire.
We saw him at the games this weekend, and he looked good. He had color. I mean, he was looking good, Bill. I mean, you saw him, right? What do you think?
Yeah, Louis is a pretty skinny kid anyway, but he did look like he lost a ton of weight from the illness. So you hope he gets his strength back, and you got to wonder about the conditioning after being off for so long. As well as I, as being a goaltender, it's all about having the feel for the puck and getting yourself into a rhythm. And just in an extended period of time, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, getting up, getting down, having those reflexes, exactly. Seeing the puck, it really is practice and timing. And timing is just so crucial for a goaltender. And hopefully, they'll be able to get enough practice for him if he is in fact cleared to practice, which we're going to find out in a little while. So stay tuned to the Battalion's Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll try to update you guys.
And definitely. As soon as I hear, I'll definitely be posting on my Facebook, on Twitter as well, to find out if Louis is indeed going to be around this weekend, because it's huge. I mean, like I said at the top of the show, it's playoff hockey now for the Berkshire Battalion. It's win or go home at this point. Dropping 2 this weekend to Watertown would effectively be a death sentence for this team's playoff hopes. I hate to say that, but it is the harsh reality of it. Not every team can make the playoffs, unfortunately, but this has been, playoffs or no playoffs, this has been a heck of a season for the Berkshire Battalion. I just don't want to see it end yet.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does. We really do have some great fans, a great fan base. And asking to make the playoffs in the first year against a bunch of already established teams, you could make a case for the Watertown team being new, although they really were mostly the remnants of the Thousand Island team. Mm-hmm. And Danbury and Danville and Dayton all being there, Dayton being the reigning Commissioner's Cup champion, Danbury giving them a big run for it. And Danville being around since practically the league's inception, right? They've been around for the entire 5-year history of the league, have they not?
I believe
Danville's
so.
Third year, I believe.
Third year, but
Danville's third year.
No, I believe it's Danville's fourth. Let me check on that.
Is it fourth?
I remember.
Well, anyway, a veteran team with a veterans fan base, coaching staff, and infrastructure. When you take a look at the changes that the battalion has seen from the very beginning, with Coach Farrell in play, and the names that we had at the very beginning of the season, names like Palmquist and Rosebrook and Hamilton and Brown and all these guys who are no longer here, it's hard to see that this it's been a long season, but you really have to take the 50,000-foot view to see that it's taken a good portion of this season for this team to come together, as it should have been, because this is a brand new first-year organization.
Yeah. Bill, you were correct. It's only 3 seasons for the Danville Dashers, and interesting. They're actually they're the team I'm actually rooting for. If Berkshire doesn't make the playoffs, I will be rooting for the Danville Dashers. I mean, they've been around for 3 years. They've only made it to the playoffs once. That was in the 2012-2013 season, and they lost in the first round to the Dayton Demons. But last year and in their first year, they didn't even qualify for the playoffs. They've been a struggling team, but seeing them come back with some good energy now, and they've got a good, really competitive team. It's fun to watch them play, and I'm really rooting for them. But that is to say, only if Berkshire doesn't make it.
Yeah, I mean, and as toxic as it can be out there on social media sometimes, one of the things that you wonder about this league is about the game that was in Port Huron, Michigan earlier this year. Are the Dashers moving to Port Huron? Are the Demons moving to Port Huron? Are they putting a new team in Port Huron? Either way, the league is not going to look like this next year. So, whoever's out there rooting for their team, go out there and root for them while you can, because you never know in this league what's going to happen.
That'll be interesting with Dayton. I know their lease at Hara Arena is up at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're a candidate for expansion out to Port Huron, or if they're going to put a new franchise there, if Dayton's going to re-up in Hara, that's some questions that probably get answered in the few months coming up at the end of the season here.
Right, plus the renovations at the Watertown rink and the Watertown ice.
Which have just been delayed.
Yeah, those are, you never know what's going to happen with any of these teams.
Yeah, I think the number I saw was that it was 1.6 million over budget, something of that sort, and that it was going to be pushed back now, which is very unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, we can certainly. I think we're going to have to do a end of the season podcast to wrap things up for this fifth season of the FHL. That'll come hopefully much later. As I'm getting word from Tristan Lisco, he's got no idea. I think he's going to be staying down in the SPHL for at least the foreseeable future. But
we do wish him the best.
Yeah, he's very excited to be down there. He loves it. So unfortunately, potentially no Lisco back, but the commitment he's had to this team has really helped get the Battalion to where they are now. Just a great team player, and really his skill was always just making the game about himself and taking the team's awareness off of the game itself and putting it squarely on his shoulders, and that helped a lot, especially playing against Watertown.
Oh, sure. I mean, and you could tell even there were a couple of flashes where he had hands, and I was one of an exchange that I had with him when he was. He had a particularly very nice shot. I don't know if he ended up scoring, but he deked around the defenseman and laid a really nice shot in. And when he came back, I told him, those was from actually his next visit to the penalty box. I said those were some really nice hands, man. He's like, yeah. He's like, it shouldn't be a surprise. But the fact is, he is a team player that his role is that of an enforcer, and in fact, his role was not that of a defenseman. He played defense for this team to pick up some slack because he's a team guy. You're right.
Yeah, and
I think he did a pretty good job of it.
Actually, Tristan messaging me on Facebook. He's got a message for the Berkshire Battalion fans, telling them to stay warm and stay out of trouble. And he also he wants to know what the booster club fed the Berkshire Battalion, scoring 35 goals in the weekend. He said he's asking if they can send some of that food his way, maybe get him some scoring going too. But good to hear from Tristan. Certainly, as gonna have a quick one here. Unfortunately, guys, I actually have a midterm exam coming up in about a half an hour. So
I think it might be okay for some people to listen to us for 20 minutes rather than 40 minutes.
Yeah, we do ramble.
Yes, we do. But we do have two more games at the Foot this year. One this weekend and one next weekend, both against the Watertown Wolves. Friday night this weekend, the 27th at 7:30. It is Hometown Heroes Night. So come down here and salute some of the hometown heroes and cheer on the Battalion for, hopefully their final playoff push. They'll certainly need the support. And we'll see you down at the Foot. I'll be there. Bill will be there.
Alex
will be there.
Yeah. I'm glad we're doing this Hometown Heroes Night, getting to recognize the really strong men and women in our society who keep us safe and keep everything running the way it should.
Yep,
it's good that we can honor them finally. It's late in the season, but better late than never, as they say. And Bill, any last thoughts about the upcoming weekend?
Yeah, I just I really hope we can get some good crowds in for these last two home games. I think if you would have said that you would be coming down to these last two weekends with an expansion team in the league, something totally unestablished, that you would have an opportunity for these last two weekends to play for the playoffs. I think, at the beginning of the season, you would have kind of maybe scratched your head, but these guys deserve the fan support, and I think they've earned that with their work here in the community. I think they've just been an absolute a gem for Northern Berkshire County.
Agreed. And, I think a lot of that is something that we actually haven't mentioned. I know we're rambling a little bit, but I want to make sure I get this in, is to the coaching staff. Not just to Darren Lane, who took over from this team, who took over from Dan Farrell, and has really been so instrumental in almost every aspect of the success, but also the player coaches. We didn't really talk last weekend about the coaching situation when Darren did not make the trip out.
Yeah.
And we have, I think now, Mike McCurtain, who unfortunately is out for the season and was a very, a big defenseman who was a stabilizing presence there, is now on the bench for the rest of the season, assistant coaching. And I think he's really doing a good job guiding these guys in. They really listen to him. They really respond to him. And he's got a great hockey mind. And, we wish Mike the best in coming back for next season, but he's also, I think, doing a really great job behind there, and maybe he's found the calling.
Yeah, they actually, the guys refer to Mike as Papa Kurtz. He's older than most of the players, and as such, he's a really good leading force and was instrumental in that road trip. But certainly looking forward to that, fans. Make sure you come out. Make sure you go online, vote for your favorite players, of course. The FHL fan vote, FHL Man of the Year. I believe it was Jeff Sanders again reading that book to the school students, and I know they love it. I love it, and I'm
they do,
and I'm not that, I'm a kid at heart, and I still love watching him read that book. He's phenomenal. If he honestly, if he doesn't want to be a hockey player anymore, I think he's got a career potentially as an actor, but that's just me. And we're rambling on here, but hopefully we see all you fans.
He had the face for it right up about that Danbury game 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that's certainly the flow, for sure.
Yeah. As we hope to see all you fans out there this weekend. You've been listening to the Berkshire Battalion Signal Corps podcast. We'll be back with you next week covering the weekend that was and the weekend to come. Bill and Ross, thank you so much for joining me. And we'll see
Good night, good afternoon. We'll see you guys this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you this weekend.